Hello, my peepers. This is Shalene of the Color and Book Nook. This is my 4th or 5th attempt to make this video. I am like about ready to give up. So this is a WIP and Chat Getting to Know Me challenge that Mrs. Coffee gave us. So my husband came home. I said, do you need to talk to me? He said no. So I said, well, I need to make this video. So I sat down. Then he comes in and starts talking to me. I'm like, okay. So then he left, and then I sat down to do this, and then for TMI, IBS set in, and I'm like, I'm never going to get this video done. So finally, I'm all feeling better. I sit down, and the freaking dog is going berserk in the house. Why? Because Amazon was here with my new mouse for my laptop. She's in her crate right now because I'm mad at her. And she can stay there. Okay. Are we ready again? I feel like I'm just repeating myself over and over and over again. I did find I do have an editing program on this laptop. I do not know how to use it yet, so I keep restarting this video. I am 55 years old. I will be 56 in April. I will be married for 33 years in July to Scott. We have 2 sons. Justin is 30. He is single. He is also gay, and no, he does not care that I tell you, because it is no secret. Our families know. Our friends know. Everybody knows. It is not a secret. I am allowed to say anything about that. Dylan is 28. He will be 29 in March. Their birthdays are 2 years and 2 days apart. He has been with Amber for 8 years. They have 2 boys together. Carson will be 7 next week. He is in 1st grade. And Blake is 4.5, and he is in pre-K. When she is working, I babysit them full time, but she's had some health issues and several surgeries, so she's been out of work since July. So it has been nice. I did have the boys for 1 week or 2 weeks that I babysat them while something else was going on. So, but other than that, yeah, I haven't had them. So I've been concentrating on my crafts and getting videos up, which is why I started the What's Going On Today videos. I read, I cross stitch, I color, and I diamond paint. I used to do painting on shirts. I used to do a little bit of plastic canvas. I've done jewelry making. Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. I have not knit or crochet. I'm not interested in learning that. I did try to learn it when I was a teenager, but I'm not interested in that. So I was born in Cherry Point, North Carolina. My dad was in the Marines. My parents were high school sweethearts. They grew up here in Western New York, just about 15 minutes away from where I'm living now. And my dad had joined the Marines, and when they got married, my mom moved down there. I was born there, but my dad didn't make a career of it, and they came back up here when I was a baby. So I have lived all in this area since then. I would love to move. I would love to move and have ocean front. I would love to live on a beach. But I do want the 4 seasons, because fall is my favorite season, followed by winter. then spring, then summer. I don't like the heat, so I don't do well in the summer. Where am I? I'm still working on this color. So this is a stitch-along that I am doing from, what's the website? Hold on. So this is what it will look like. Right now I'm doing the frame because January starts here. If you notice, they're not in order. So you got January and February is here. So right now I'm just working on the frame. The it's cunning blog spot. Do I have it? I can't show you the chart. That was the one thing we were told. I'm just trying to find Cunning. Yeah, the Facebook group is Cunning Cross Stitch Group. But I got this off the blog and I can't find that information. Yeah, I can't find that information, what the name of the blog is. I know it's Cunning, so you can look that up. So, yep, I grew up here. I went to Caledonia School for kindergarten, first and second grade. We lived in a trailer park. The manager's daughter was my best friend. And I do see her occasionally, like maybe every 10 years. I'll see her somewheres, but no, we don't really see each other anymore. No reason besides my moving around. And then I went to Pavilion School for third grade. And my best friend there, her name was Sherry. She was picked on a lot, and since I was a new girl, I also didn't have any friends. So her and I became friends, and I actually am now in contact with her again because her sister ended up marrying my cousin many years ago. And she remembered me. It was funny. I remembered her as well. I'm just seeing where I need to go with this color. So I only went there for third grade. I think my parents were just renting the house we lived in because they wanted to live on Canisius Lake. But there wasn't anything at that time. I don't think I need this color anymore. Cool. Guess I'm done with this color. So after we lived there, I went to Churchville Chili for 4th, 5th, 6th, and half a 7th. So when in 4th grade, that's when you can join band. And my mom had played clarinet in high school, so she still had hers. Hers was a plastic clarinet. Nothing fancy. So I got into clarinet big time, and they had an awesome band in that high school. I don't know what it's like now. Big school. I mean, they have like 200 and some that graduated a year back then. And when we left, we ended up buying a house on Canisius Lake where my parents always wanted to live. And that's where I ended up graduating from. And I did threaten them if they moved again, I was running away because I'm tired of making new friends all the time. Okay, I'm just seeing what color I need now. I'm going to go with that. So I continued playing my clarinet all through my senior year. I did solo competitions, and I made it into all-state band for 1 year, which is where they take the best of your instrument. and you get together for 2 days and you practice together and you throw a concert. So I did do that once, and then for 3 years in a row I did all county, which is where they take the best of the clarinetists in the county and you all have a concert. So you take, the best of each instrument and you get together for 2 days, you throw a concert. So I did that, loved my clarinet. That was my thing back in high school. I did not play in any sports because I had the clarinet. My parents ended up buying me a really expensive clarinet that's wooden and it's a Buffett. I still have it. I've tried to sell it a few times. I did contact Buffett, told them that it was refurbished and what should I ask for it. They told me not to take less. They told me to ask for $3,000 for it, not to take less than $2,000. I've tried selling it, but yeah, because it's considered a vintage. So I still have that. And if someone really serious wants to buy it, I would sell it to them. Justin played it for 1 year because he wanted to play the trumpet. And I said, well, I already have the clarinet. If you like band, stay in band for 1 year with the clarinet. If you like it, then we'll get you a trumpet next year. And he said, okay. So this was in 5th grade, and he did play the clarinet for the whole year, but he decided he didn't like band. So no money lost on that. All I did was, before he started 5th grade, I did take it to the music shop, and I had it refurbished. The keys were polished. It had new cork put on it, new pads, whatever pins needed to be replaced. So it was like brand new. So I don't play it. I don't even know if I could play it anymore with asthma. I have a feeling I will not be able to play it. But that was my baby. I played clarinet all the time. I was always practicing and playing. I also liked to party when I was in high school. Yes, I was a partier. I liked to have drinks with my friends. Not every day. It was, I wasn't hardcore. But I did like to party with my friends, and I smoked pot a few times. I didn't touch anything else. I did speed twice. Didn't like it. I was offered Coke, and I told them, no, thank you, not interested. That was the extent of that. I had a steady boyfriend from my junior year, and we dated on and off for like 4 years, but it just wasn't working. And I met Scott. But yeah, I used to like to go out in the bars every Friday and Saturday night, and I didn't always drink. A lot of times I was the designated driver, but I loved music and I loved to dance. So that's where you would find me every weekend. There was a local bar. It was a couple miles up the road from where I lived. It was a hopping place back then. But we're talking 80s. Now, is it a church? It was a bar for a long time. Then it was a church. It's been a church and it's been a daycare center. And right now I can't remember if it's the church or the daycare center. But yeah, I loved going there. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, partier. Which is why Dylan did not get away with a lot of stuff in high school, because been there, done that, boy. Justin was my toe the line, straight A student on the honor roll, and Dylan's like, I'm passing, that's good. He was my challenge child. So, yeah. What else? I never know what to talk about. I feel like I'm either giving too much information or not enough. I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. I did work. When I graduated, I worked at an electronic factory making components for electronics. I worked there for 5 years. I liked what I did. I didn't like the place. And then when I left there, I went to another electronics factory. I loved the place, did not like what I did there. So if I'd have had a combination of the two places, it would have been a perfect fit. I ended up leaving there, though, because I needed the engine repaired in my car. And we didn't really have the money at the time, so I didn't work. And then I got my engine repaired, and I didn't want to go back to work. So that's when I had Justin, and Scott said, I do not want anybody else raising our children. I want you to stay home with them. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. So I started cross-stitching my senior year in high school. I had met Scott's two sisters and his mom in my senior year of high school. His one sister is best friends with my aunt by marriage. And so I became friends with them, and his sister sold back then what was called Trichem. And it was embroidery paint. And they had cross-stitching. So she got me into selling that in my senior year in high school. And I actually had a few parties with my friends from high school. And I got into the cross-stitch. Now, I had done stamped cross-stitch. See, things are called different now than probably back then, so you might hear things a little bit differently. But it was called stamped cross-stitching. I had done a few pillowcases back when I was like 14 or 15. My father's mom had bought them for me, and so I did those. But I got into the counted cross-stitch and absolutely fell in love with it, and spent a lot of my money buying patterns in that. I forgot the name of the craft store back then. It was popular. And so I bought every color of DMC floss that they made back then, and patterns, and Ada cloth. And I made all my gifts. I was making my gifts, all my Christmas gifts and birthday gifts. And when I had met Scott, I did not like him. I thought he was an asshole. Excuse my language. But his one sister and I, she worked at the same electronic factory as me. In fact, she helped me get my job there. And she's the one I have her cats now. So she said, I have a brother. I want you to meet him. I had a boyfriend at the time. He was a great guy, but we clashed too much. And they hated Scott's girlfriend. They hated her so bad that his father said if he got married to her, he would not go to the wedding. That's how bad it was. And I went to school with her. I did not go to school with Scott. Our schools were rivals. But the girl he was dating was a year ahead of me in high school, and she was a bitch. She thought her shit didn't stink. Yeah, but Scott said that her mom was the same way. Anyways, we became friends. Well, the first time I met him, he was obnoxious, and we met him, his sister and I met him at the bowling alley. So we're going to play a few games of, a few bowling games, and, he picked up the bowling ball and was lifting it and go, yep, this is as big as my balls, and I thought, oh my God, you are an asshole. I didn't like him. But he ended up growing on me, and He- I was still dating my boyfriend, and we broke up, and then him and his girlfriend broke up, and he asked me out on a date, and he came and picked me up. My dad was out chopping wood, and something happened with whatever he was using, and Scott, being the smart ass that he is, said something smart to my dad, and my dad laughed, and we were gone. We went to the local fair, county fair. So we went there and had a good time, and then we went to a bar afterwards, and a friend of mine and her boyfriend were in there, so we were hanging out with them. And we went back to her place afterwards, and I didn't get home till 2 a.m. No, I think it was later than that. I think it was more like 4 a.m. I don't know. I never had curfews. My parents never gave my sister or I curfews. But we knew you probably better not toe the, you better not pass a certain line. So I usually got home when the bars closed. I never usually stayed out later than that. So I remember getting home really late. And my dad said that he really liked him because of his smart ass remark. And so we dated for a while, and he told me on our first date, we got along really, really great, that I was the kind of person he could fall in love with and spend the rest of his life with. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy is like, he's rushing things. I just met him, and well, I didn't just meet him, but it's something that my boyfriend that I had been seeing for 4 years should have been saying to me and wasn't. So we broke up because he wanted to go back with his ex, and I'm like, okay. And I went back with mine. Did I go back? Yeah, I went back with him for a short time. And it was only for like 2 months, and then Scott came back and said that he really wanted to be with me, and he was sending me love letters with 2 of his friends that worked with me at the factory I worked at. So my friends and his family and my family were really pushing us together. And after I got to know him, I realized he's just a sarcastic smartass, and I got used to it, and he makes me laugh. And my mom said, if he makes you laugh and makes you feel good, then don't let him go. So that's how we started out. And to say, yes, we are happy. Do we have a perfect marriage? Oh, hell no. We hit a rough spot, and we're going to split up. And I started to work again because I didn't work for many years because I raised the boys. He didn't want anybody else raising them. Plus, Dylan had asthma, and he was in and out of the doctors a lot, and it just worked. And so I volunteered once a week at both their the preschool program they were in, and in high school or elementary school. I would help out in the classroom once a week. And then I got involved in the book fair, the Scholastic Book Fair that the PTO put on. And I went to a few PTO meetings, but I wasn't really into the meetings. But I did like doing the Scholastic Book Fairs. So I would help every single year. Twice a year they had the book fairs, and I would sign up for every day to work it during the lunch hour because that's when it was the busiest. Otherwise I was bored. But I always signed up for the lunch hour. And then the boys got into middle grade, and when Dylan started middle grade, he's like, Mom, they don't have the book fair here anymore. So what do you mean they don't have the book fair there? No, they don't have it here. So I talked to the PTO and I talked to the principal of the high school and I said, look it, these books are also for middle school and high schoolers. Why is there no book fair? And they said, because no one will run it at the high school. I said, I will run it. Okay, so if you're going to run it, we want you to put it in the foyer of the middle grade. And I said, that's fine. So I would contact a couple of parents. Can you help me run the book fair? It's all day long, and it's in the middle school, middle grades in the foyer. So we did that for a year. And I'm like, this is not working, because the other teachers would not let the students leave their classrooms to come to the book fair. And I wasn't hardly selling any books. So I got this really bright idea, and I talked to the principal and I said, can we move the book fair into the cafeteria and just have it open during lunch hours? And the principal and the PTO said, that's a really good idea. I said, because I'm not getting all the students. If I have it in the lunchroom, all the students have lunch. So they got a hold of the janitor, because he was in charge of moving things around, and he was really super nice, and he said, yep, there's an area in the lunchroom we can set it up in. And I said, thank you. So I did that for a couple of years, and it was just during lunch hours, so it wasn't all day. I had one or two parents that would help, and I'll tell you what, that was booming, because we had all the students from grades 6 through 12. And it was awesome. And then I ended up having to get a job, so I couldn't run it anymore. Nobody else would take over, which is sad. I really enjoyed that. And I babysat a lot when my kids were younger. I had a high-top conversion van with the TV, and we'd load up all the kids I babysat, and we would go to one of the parks. It was actually one of the schools. They had this awesome playground. Everything was all wooden. It was, oh my God, I'm telling you. I'm not answering it. It's an unknown name anyways. Phone has not rang all day. Yes, I have a landline, because where I live in this house is a dead zone. So with my cell phone, if you call me, it won't ring, or the phone call will get dropped if I answer it. So all my friends that call me on my cell phone use Messenger. So I have to have a landline. So yeah, I took my boys and all the kids I babysat, and we would pack up snacks and drinks and go to the park. If it was a rainy day, we would do crafts in the afternoon. I always had like all kinds of crafty things. So we would do that, or they'd color, and they played outside a lot. I had a swing set. They were always playing together. I had a lot of kids sometimes, and back then I didn't have to worry about having a license. Now I would need one, but I didn't back then. Plus we went to the library twice a week. We'd go to the Pavilion Library for story time, and then we would do story time in Leroy. So I kept kids busy. They didn't complain too much. They were bored. So I babysat many years, many families, and I enjoyed doing that. I've always been into crafts. Like I said, I started doing the cross stitching when I sold Trichem, and then I stopped selling Trichem and I did Undercover World. I don't know if any of you remember that. It was a lingerie party plan, and I did really well. I did parties, and a lot of them Scott would drive me and drop me off if he wasn't working, if it was on the weekends. And I sold really well, and the meetings were once a month in Corning, which was like an hour and a half to 2 hour drive. We had a blast, and I would win a lot of prizes, and yeah, I did that for a couple of years, and then that's when I had the kids and I couldn't do all that. Well, no, why did I quit selling it? I can't remember why I quit selling it. But I did it for a year or two. Then I started selling Christmas Around the World. I don't know if you remember that. Oh my gosh. My parties for that were huge. And the hostesses won a ton. You would win a couple $100 worth of merchandise. And you could get a lot for that. And I still have a few things from when I used to sell that. And my meetings were once a month, and my the person I was under lived about 20 minutes from me. I loved going to the meetings a lot. Sometimes I was the top seller for the month, and I made really good money doing that. And before I did that, I sold Avon, and back then you had a territory. So I grew up on Canisius Lake, and so my territory was part of the lake. And when I moved here, I had to stop because you had to stick with the territory. Now it's not like that. So I stopped selling it because there was no way I was going to keep driving over there when it was a half-hour drive. But I enjoyed that, and I had some good clients who would spend a couple $100 every 2 weeks. So I was making good money doing that. So yeah, I liked to do, I've done Tupperware. Yeah, I sold Tupperware for about a year. That didn't go over too well. Was there any other party plans? I can't remember. Then I was doing craft shows with my mom, and I was doing my cross stitching, and my mom was doing jewelry. And we did that for a couple of years, and that was fun, but we always went home with less because what it cost for the booth, we didn't sell enough. So we stopped doing the craft shows. And then I started making jewelry, and I was going to do home parties with friends and family, and it would be, you would just buy what was already made. But people didn't show up for that, so I stopped doing that. I still have all my jewelry supplies, which I would love to sell off if someone wants it. I have a lot of beads. I really don't want to get rid of my tools because sometimes I use my tools for repairing my own jewelry. And I do wear my own jewelry. But I think that's it as far as party plans went. Now, as for reading, I have been a huge reader since I was a little girl. I loved to read. I read the book Heidi. I can't tell you how many times. That was one of my favorite books. And then there was another book I read a lot, and now I can't remember the name of it. The little girl was adopted, or she lived with her aunt. And I can't remember the name of that, but that got me into reading. And then I read all the Little House on the Prairie books, all the Wizard of Oz books, Nancy Drew, the Hardy Boys. I was reading all of those. And then I got to be a teenager, and I don't remember what I read as a teenager. But I remember one or two summers there was a library that you could order the books through the mail, and they would send them to you, and then you sent them back and they would send you other books. You just told them what you wanted. So my mom and I would read all the time. My parents were big readers. That's how I got my name. Shalene it was from the book Cat Ballou. My dad had read it when my mom was pregnant, and then the year I was born, the movie came out. Jane Fonda played Cat Ballou, and Lee Marvin played Kid Shalene. So my name is a guy's name. He was a drunk in the movie, even his horse. Very funny movie. So that is how I got my name. But my mom got to name my sister, so she got the name Melissa. We call her Missy. She's the only sibling I have. Both of my parents are still alive. They're in their late 70s. My dad's birthday is January 10th. He is in a wheelchair. He had a stroke a couple Christmases ago, and he hasn't been able to get up and do things. So he's in a wheelchair. He didn't lose his speech. Just the arm doesn't work too well on the left side, and his leg. My mom is also into crafts. I got both my parents into coloring. And my dad was doing a lot of coloring until he had a stroke. Now he has no interest in it, no interest in reading. Both of my parents were huge readers. My mother-in-law was a huge reader. She got me into the romance novels, and she also liked mysteries. Scott doesn't read. He doesn't have enough time to sit down and read, and he has a short attention span. My boys, Justin loved to read. He was always reading. Dylan, I would make him read if he wanted to play video games. Does it feel like I'm all over the place? Squirrel. You wanted to know a little bit about me, so I'm just getting it all out there as I remember. So when we moved to Canisius Lake, I turned into this person that just absolutely loves being by the water, which is why I would love a house by the water. And I miss being on the lake. My parents no longer live there. Got to be too much for them. And I'm glad, because the house they're in works with my dad being in a wheelchair. If they'd have lived on the lake, they still would have had to move, because there was no way. Everything was stairs. To get down, you parked up on the road and you had to walk downstairs to get into the house. The bathroom and the bedrooms were up on the top floor. You had to go through the basement to get down to go down to the lake. And then you had to go down more steps. So yeah, it would not have worked. And my dad worked at Kodak for I forgot how many years. And back in the 90s, early 90s, they had the big layoffs. And if you worked there so many years and you add it to how old you are, and it was, I think, it added up to 65, then you could take the early retirement, and they had a big package deal. Which my dad didn't take the first package deal, but he got the really good one, which was the second package deal. So he's been retired since he was like in his 40s. And my mom did not work when we were growing up. She did babysit our neighbor's little boy for a little bit, few years, and his sister, And then she worked at the Dollar Tree for a couple of years, but it got to be too much for her because you have to unload the trucks and everything. The truck drivers don't. And that was too much for my mom. Plus, this new generation does not like to work. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them. And they were constantly calling in, and my mom was constantly getting called in on her days off. And so my dad put his foot down and said, no, you can't keep doing this. So she's always been pretty much a stay-at-home mom. I like being home. I like being able... I am not the neatest house cleaner. I will admit that. It's cluttered. And I do like to go through and declutter, get rid of stuff, throw things out. But it's still a little cluttered. I mean, this craft room, I've got all kinds of crafts in here, you know, coloring, diamond painting, cross-stitching. This was Justin's bedroom. And my Dylan's bedroom is like a junk room, and all my cross-stitch stuff is in there. It's a very tiny room. It's not much bigger than a closet, so I can't do a lot in there. So I thought about storing my diamond paintings and my coloring books in there, and Scott thought that would be a good idea. I was going to convert it into a guest room, but nobody ever stays here. I mean, Lisa stayed here. Lisa Gadberry came here 2 years ago, and she stayed a week. And so she stayed on the couch. And when Catherine comes, she stays on the couch, but she's not here a lot. And with the pandemic, I haven't seen her in a year. So we're thinking of not converting that to a guest room at this time and moving my diamond paintings in there and my coloring books. I was going to move my coloring supplies, but the reason why I have the air conditioner in here is so that my pencils, the wax pencils, don't get ruined when it gets too hot in here. So I have the air conditioner in here for the summer. But yeah, I would like to just have it as a storage room in that room. It would leave more room in here that I might be able to set up this table differently. So I got, like I said, I've always been a reader, and I started a blog, oh my gosh, 90s. I started a blog. I still have the same blog, and it was like a daily diary, what I read for the day, what I cross-stitched, because I cross-stitched from the time I got up till I went to bed. And I was a couch potato. That TV was on from the time I got up till I went to bed. That's all I did. Plus, it wasn't the internet back then. So that's all I did. I had a card table set up, and I sat there and I cross-stitched. Even when my kids were babies, my children have always been independent. They never wanted me to sit on the floor and play with them. They would tell me no. And my grandchildren are the same way. They would push me away and tell me no. And I'm like, fine. So I never had to sit on the floor and play with my sons. You know, once in a while, they would ask me to, but they were happy just bringing their toys in the family room where I was sitting and cross-stitching and just playing by me, but they didn't want me to be involved. And like I said, though, I kept them busy, you know, going to the parks and the library and all that. And then video games came, and they would play video games, but they would want to play them all the time. And so my goal was, if you want to play video games, then you have to read too. So for every hour of video games you want to play, you have to read an hour. So that worked for me and for them. Justin was above grade in reading, and Dylan was at grade for reading. Dylan preferred to listen to the books, so I was able to get like books on cassette back then and CD later on, and he would listen to them while he was playing with his toys. And then Sims came out. Justin wanted the whole Sims 1 collection, so my sister bought that for him. And he got me hooked playing on Sims. And then Sims 2 came out. We had to get all of those. Sims 2, Sims 3, Sims 4. And I'm hooked on Sims. Right now my gaming PC is down, so I haven't played it in over a year. And I miss it. But I'm not into the shooting games. I did play CTR with Dylan when he was little. And while they were in school, I would practice playing that so I could beat his butt, because he was always beating mine. So I do play video games, but it's The Sims. I love The Sims. Coloring, I don't remember how I got into coloring. I think my sister got me a coloring book and pencils, or my mom, or both of them for one Christmas. And then I joined a couple of coloring Facebook groups with my mom and my sister, because they were coloring too. My sister doesn't anymore. My mom still loves to color. And I bought her quite a few coloring stuff. And then in October of 2019, I got into diamond painting. So in 2018, I bought 2 diamond paintings. I think they were free. You just pay shipping. One was from Diamond Art Club. And it sat on my shelf. I'm not interested. I thought, I don't want to do this. And then in October 2019, Laura from Anxiety Art Adventure said, I'm doing a live stream with diamond painting. Do you have a diamond painting? I said, yeah, I'm not interested though. And she goes, well, just pull it out. So I did have one that was a fairy, and it was a partial. And within 15 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, I need more of these. And now I don't like partials. I want the full. So that's how that started. And I met Laura a couple of years before that. So when did I met Laura in the last part of the year of 2016. I had lost my job because of my health, and I started babysitting my grandsons. And Carson was like 2 years old. Blake was a baby. They slept a lot. So I got into watching, well, I can't remember what it was called. It wasn't YouTube. It was something Dee Dee Willingham was on before she did YouTube. So I was in there. I met Laura from Anxiety Art Adventures. I met Jessica Robertson, which is now Jessica Sparkles. And A Colorful Life. And Jessica and Laura were doing live streams on that channel as well, and then they moved over to YouTube. So I became friends with them then, and then I met a lot of other colorists, and it just went from there. And then I've been diamond painting, but I started my channel as a booktuber because I found BookTube. So I started my channel doing BookTube, but I am really bad at talking about a book without giving away the spoilers. How some of these people do reviews on YouTube without spoilers, and they make it into a 30-minute video, 20-minute video. I'm done in 3 minutes. Because actually, if you listen to them, they're repeating themselves over and over again, but just using different words. And I wasn't getting many views. I didn't know you could make money on YouTube. I just wanted something to do. I didn't work outside the home. Well, back then I did. But I wanted to meet people online. And so I started doing BookTube. And I didn't get many people, so I added on my cross stitching. And I met a few people, and my friends are like, oh, you belong to FlossTube. And I'm going, what's FlossTube? I didn't know there was such a thing. I didn't know there was a FlossTube. So I started, doing FlossTube videos, and then I brought in my coloring. And that's when I found Dee Dee and everybody, and there's a whole coloring community on YouTube I did not know about. So that was a lot of fun. So I started meeting people and made friends. And then again, diamond painting. But the cross stitching, oh my gosh, I started, like I said, around the time I graduated. I graduated in 1983. And I've been cross stitching ever since. And I found when I first got the internet, it was dial-up. And I knew about a group on there called Aileen's Craft Group, and it was from her TV show. So I went in there, I met a ton of crafting people, cross-stitching, and then that's when I found out about all this cross-stitch community. And I joined Cross Stitch Pals. And then when I joined Cross Stitch Pals, they were getting ready to have their second cross stitch retreat in Myrtle Beach. And I told Scott I would really like to go, and he says, okay, let's go. So we went. We left the boys with my best friend so they could continue going to school, because we were gone a week, and I had the best time. So there was 20 years of the cross stitch retreat for the Cross Stitch Pals in Myrtle Beach. I missed the first year because I didn't know about it. I missed the year Justin had braces put on his teeth because that was expensive. I missed Justin's senior year, Dylan's senior year, and one other year I couldn't get off from work or I didn't have the money. Otherwise, I went to all of them. And from that, I went to the Mirabilia retreats that were in Ohio. I went to 3 or 4 of those. Now they're in Texas. So I've been in the cross-stitch community since the end of the 90s. So my crafts have always been my life, and my blog, and I started my blog not too long after I got online the first time. And like I said, it was like an online diary of everything I was reading and what I was cross-stitching, and I would post pictures all the time. Now my blog is just for reading, which is fine with me. And I am a professional book reviewer, but I am getting away from doing blog tours. I'm not doing as many. I want to get back into reading the authors that I'm behind on because I love their books. So I am going back into that. Is there any regrets in my life? The only regret that I have, but then it would have changed my whole life. I might not have been with Scott. I might not have had my sons. I wish I had gone on with my clarinet and gone to school, college, Julian, whatever, and gotten into an orchestra. That is the only thing that I wish I had done. Other than that, no. I don't have any other regrets. It's the only one. But like the boys said when I told them that, they said, but then we might not be here because of that. And I said, that's true. You know, I might have been traveling a lot. I would not have been with Scott. So, yeah, definitely. You can't ever say I regret. Not unless you've had a horrible life and it turned out horribly. Then you could say that, but I don't have a horrible life. Scott has always worked 2 jobs so I could stay home. When the boys were little, they hardly ever saw him, but they do now. They both were in sports. Carson, yeah. Dylan was in baseball. He was great at it. I wish he had stuck it out. But he didn't play anymore after 8th grade. And he did try wrestling. His pediatrician had not recommended he did wrestling because of his asthma. They said with baseball, you run base to base and then you're done. Where with wrestling, it's constantly on the move. And he did try wrestling. He did have an asthma attack at a wrestling match, and the coach was talking to the one that he played against, and they were kind of making fun about Dylan being a sore loser, and it's like, no, you idiots, he's having a fucking asthma attack. So he didn't wrestle anymore. Justin started out with baseball, but he hated it, and he ended up being, and he did soccer. He did soccer for a few years. But then he ended up joining track and absolutely loved track. So he was in track up to his senior year. And then he was getting a car. So if he had a car, he had to get a job. So he didn't do track anymore in his senior year. But yeah, I was a soccer mom, a baseball mom, a track mom. The boys were always busy. Let's see, how many minutes? 57. I guess that's good. I can't think of anything else to talk about. High school. I was huge into roller skating. Where we lived on the lake, 2 miles up the road was a small amusement park, and they had a roller skating rink. And I did not know how to roller skate when I first moved there. And one of the neighbors took me roller skating, and I fell in love with it. And I was there every single night. And my mom said I had to stay home 1 night a week. So I stayed home on Thursday nights because Thursday nights was organ music in the roller skating rink. And that's when you had the older crowd, you know, the 40s and 50-year-olds, which I think were old back then, but that's my age now. So I stayed home on Thursday nights. And it was only open in the summer. It wasn't open any other time. Because most of, growing up on the lake, most of the people were summer people. They were summer rentals. We lived there all year round. So I had my school friends, and then I had my summer friends. So some of the summer friends I had permanent cottages, so they came back every summer. So I would have the same friends every summer. And then some people I would just meet every summer because they rented cottages that were rented weekly. So I had a lot of fun growing up on the lake. And it froze in the wintertime. I learned how to ice skate. Used to love to ice skate. So I kept pretty busy, and I used to ride my bike all the time. Loved to dance. Went to all the school dances. Whenever they had them, that's where I was. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I don't think I left anything out. I was going to tell you about my reaction with Justin. So Justin had told us in 10th grade of high school that he thought he was bi, and I said, okay, why do you think you're bi? So he would explain to me, and I said, okay. And he dated a girl for a short time, and then in his junior year, he said, no, Mom, I'm gay. And I said, okay. And he goes, are you mad at me? Absolutely not. Why would I be mad at you for that? You're still my kid. You're still the same Justin you've been. I'm not mad. I says, I'm disappointed because I would like, wedding and grandchildren and all that. And he's going, but I can still adopt. And I said, that's true. He's back then, when he first talked about it, New York State didn't allow same-sex marriage. But he could adopt. And I said, okay. So he ended up having a boyfriend junior year, his senior year, and a year or two after he graduated, he had the same boyfriend. But he couldn't keep jobs. He never got his driver's license. So Justin was the one driving all over, not getting gas money. And Justin was working and spending all his money for them to go do things. And I'm like, Justin, this can't continue. I can't tell my boys what to do, but I am very opinionated, and I will tell them what I think. So they ended up breaking up, and he started dating someone else I couldn't stand. And he hasn't been, I wish he would meet someone. I really do. He's a great guy. His best friend is Cece. He's been best friends with her since middle school, and he was in their wedding. He loves her children. He's really good friends with her husband. They hang out. He's a good friend. He's a great guy. He works at Target, and he runs the Starbucks in Target. He's been there for like 10 years. So he has a steady job. He makes pretty decent money there. He's pretty good with his money. He loves to play video games. Just needs to meet someone. So I told Scott's family, Justin came out, and they were not surprised at all. I told my family, no one was surprised at all. Everybody's very supportive of him. No one's shunned him. When he came out in high school, he didn't lose any friends. He was able to go to his proms, junior, senior, and his boyfriend's junior, senior proms, and sweetheart dance and a winter dance together. The schools allowed it. And he only had one issue with one student in his school who gave him a hard time at one of the dances, and the students from his class made him back off. He's never had an issue with it. So that is, Scott cried, but Justin said I cried, but he said I was crying because I was worried for him, which is a normal thing as parents. But we have never treated him any different. And him and I are close. I'm close to both my boys. We've always, Scott's always worked nights. So I've been pretty much done everything with the boys, and they would come home from school. They would have to, at the dinner table, they would have to tell me the best thing that happened that day at school, the worst thing that happened, and they always knew that they could tell me anything, even if I was going to be mad, because I'd rather they tell me the truth and be mad at them than to find out they lied, and they learned that at the beginning. So it is funny because when we got together, with my family at Thanksgiving, my boys would talk about anything, and I mean anything. And my parents were like, why are they talking like this? And I said, because that's how I raised them. They can talk to me about anything. And we always did it at the dinner table. And Dylan, he would ask me a lot of questions about boy problems, and it's like, I really can't answer that. I didn't have a brother. I can't answer that. You're really going to have to ask your dad. But to this day, Dylan will still confide in me on things, and it's like a lot of times it's TMI, I don't need to know that. But that's just how I brought them up. And no, it wasn't easy bringing them up as teenagers. Justin, I really didn't have any issues. Justin was straight A. He did everything he was supposed to. He got in trouble once or twice, but nothing major. We had to have the cops called on him once because a boy was threatening Justin. Justin threatened him back. The boy kept the conversation of what Justin said, but not what he said, and had used it against Justin. So we had to go to court for that, but that was all straightened up, and the judge knew that the other kid was a troublemaker. He already knew that. In fact, the judge had an issue with his own daughter with that kid, but he had to go by what was put in front of him for evidence. So, but that was all straightened, taken care of. Dylan, we had issues with, the partying. But I'm going to say goodbye. It's Scott. I don't know why he's calling me. But that is it for today. I think I gave you enough information to know enough about me. Love you guys. Bye-bye.